Hello, my name is Roegr Watson. I'm the Professor of Nursing in the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Hull, and this short presentation is for the programme The Digital Researcher, which is run at the University of Hull. I'm going to speak about using Twitter and blogging. I've been tweeting almost since Twitter was invented. I discovered blogging very soon after that, and I've been blogging very enthusiastically for many years. I blog about a great many things. I blog about my personal interests, such as poetry and running. I also blog about writing for publication, and I blog about my research. I run several blogs, my own blogs. I run one for our faculty, which is used as a newsletter, and it's a very effective way of getting short snippets of news out about our faculty members. And I also run one for a research project in which I'm involved called the STAR project, and I use a variety of blogging platforms for these blogs. I tweet about a great many things as well. I tweet mainly about my own interests and my own work, but I also follow other people and tweet from them what I find of interest and what I want to promote. I run several Twitter sites. I have my personal one, which I use mostly, but I run one on behalf of each of the journals I edit for Wiley. I've got a methodological one that I use to promote a particular research method that I'm interested in, and I have one for my company that I run with my wife, and I run some other ones for other people as well. As you can see, I'm very enthusiastic about Twitter. I think it's very important to use social media these days, principally blogging and Twitter, especially for academics, because it's a way, unashamedly, of getting yourself out there and getting your work known. And that's really why I blog and tweet. It's very effective, it's very easy if you tweet properly, politely and effectively to build up a big following. I currently have over 5,000 followers. That's not quite as big as Justin Bieber or some of my other colleagues, but it's quite big for an individual academic. Blogging is a highly effective way of getting certain material out. In addition to what I spoke about earlier, I also blog about my teaching. I teach anatomy and physiology to nursing students, and I've developed a particular method of teaching that, and I wrote a blog about it, and that blog has had over 100,000 hits. And again, that's quite phenomenal for an individual academic. I must admit that not all of my blogs are that successful. I wish they were. The combination of blogging and tweeting is very effective. You can link your blog to your Twitter site, and you can either automatically or judiciously tweet out links from your blog. People don't normally read blogs unless you actually use some way of advertising them, and Twitter's a very good way to do that by putting out the links. Now, some people are not very used to using social media and worry about it and think it may be either too much work or they simply don't know what to do. You can't do much wrong with social media. It's actually very easy to use. The platforms are quite easy to use, again, especially Twitter and blogging sites. Blogging sites are relatively easy to use. The great thing about them is that you can also do them for nothing. It doesn't cost anything. You can set up both a Twitter site and a blog site through Google. It doesn't cost any money and remarkably easy to use. Clearly, blogging is more flexible. You've got more space, you can put in more links, more pictures, that kind of thing. You can make it much more attractive. Twitter's very limited, but it's also a very good discipline to learn to say things in very few words. So they are very different kinds of platforms, but they work very well together and they work very well in supporting each other. My tips for anyone who wants to use social media is to get started as soon as you can. Don't worry about it and don't get stressed. Don't feel that you've got to be on there every day and writing a blog every day or on Twitter every 5 minutes. I find that if you limit your time on these things to perhaps first thing in the morning or the middle of the day or something like that, or when you're on a train journey or whatever. But if you've got a particular pattern to when you check your social media, I find that most effective. Don't let it rule your life. There's no need for it to do that. With blogging, it is advisable to try and blog out fairly regularly and to put out interesting material on a fairly regular basis. Don't leave it too long. If the blog goes dead or moribund, then people will lose interest. So try to keep it relatively up to date. But again, don't feel obliged to be at it all the time. With Twitter, I think one of the main things with Twitter is, and I won't go into this in detail here, but one of the main things is to check up on some etiquette about the use of Twitter. Don't be afraid of using Twitter, but do be careful not to end your careers with a careless or insulting tweet. There's no need to do that, and it is actually quite difficult to do, and it's usually done deliberately. But I'd strongly advise you just to check on the etiquette before you start using Twitter. There's plenty of advice around on the internet. My top tip for using Twitter is to check it regularly, but not too frequently. When you put out a tweet, to put out a link with the tweet, and if possible, a picture, even just a screenshot. It always raises interest in your tweets. My top tips for blogging are to develop a formula for blogging. Don't make blogs too long. That takes a long time to write it, but it also takes people a long time to read it. So just have some mercy on your reader. Try and get them, if possible, to within a page or so of a computer screen. I know that doesn't sound like very much, but with pictures and with links to take people to other interesting material, it's remarkable how you can cut them down. And certainly shorter blogs are read more frequently than long blogs. Again, some etiquette is required with blogging. Be careful about copyright, be careful about getting into arguments with people on any kind of social media, but blogging is a good way to make a start in developing your profile online. And the thing to remember about a blog is that you can always go back and edit it, and if necessary, you can always delete it. So I strongly encourage you to give social media a go, especially blogging and tweeting. If I can do it, I'm sure that anybody can. Thanks for listening.